Hello there.
Cheers.
Cheers. That felt good.
Really did.
It's really
Hit the spot.
hit the spot. I feel revitalized.
Me too.
I think I'm ready for some very kick-ass fantasy adventure.
Oh boy, are you in luck.
Yeah. So, hello everyone and welcome back to the Vagabond Arashikage channel. It's Halloween once more.
It is.
And you guys know what that means. Do you know what
games.
Yeah, board games. We're doing board games.
We're doing board games.
Now, since we did something very simple in our last video, I thought it would be cool to talk about something a little bit more complex. Now,
That's generous.
yeah, just a tiny bit more complex.
It's definitely on the other side of the scale.
So, would you say this is more advanced than Ghost Castle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Yes. Now, what are we going to talk about today, Jahn?
Yeah, so today we are talking about the Solomon Kane board game by Mythic Games.
And this is not the first time we are reviewing a game by Mythic Games here on the channel.
That is true. We talked about Darkest Dungeon, the board game, as well earlier.
Another very grim, dark, depressing, hardcore, difficult game. Yep.
In a different way.
In a very different way, but it makes sense that these guys made Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah, it does.
And Solomon Kane came out in 2021, so they actually made Darkest Dungeon after this.
Yes.
And yeah, Solomon Kane. So Solomon Kane is a character from he's a character from the novels of Robert E. Howard, who also wrote Conan and King Kull. And so what's the deal with Solomon Kane?
Well, Solomon Kane is an English Puritan who, well, he travels about the world, really. Europe, Africa, the New World.
And he brings justice.
Yeah, fights bad guys.
And like in this setting, he fights all sorts of supernatural stuff.
Yeah.
Werewolves, vampires, whatever. And Solomon Kane was the Solomon Kane, I don't know, book or whatever. So he debuted with Solomon Kane. That was before he wrote or published Conan, actually.
Yeah.
Now, you want to tell what the game is all about? Do we play as Solomon Kane and go out and like, ching ching?
No.
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 We don't play as Solomon Kane.
No. In the Solomon Kane game, no.
What?
Solomon Kane just does what Solomon Kane does. So we don't play as Solomon Kane, but we play as these virtues. And we try to nudge him in the right direction. That's the story of the game. So the game is played over a number of different scenarios. And this pile of books here is the pile of scenarios.
So every time you play, you choose an adventure. And this was the adventure we did, the first one and the recommended one to start with. And this adventure was 39 pages.
Yeah.
And that was the simplest one.
Yeah. Although the adventures play out in a choose-your-own-adventure style, so you don't actually read the entirety of the book. Whenever
That's
you
true.
end a part of the story, you will go to a certain part of the book, depending on how well or not well you did in that particular part. And then that's going to affect how the story plays out from there on.
This is the biggest book. This is 160 pages.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Doesn't play in an hour.
No. How long did it take us to play the first scenario? It took a couple hours.
Yeah, was it about 5 hours maybe?
4 or 5 hours.
4 or 5 hours? Yeah.
Depending on how efficient you are.
That's true. That's true. There was a little bit of leafing through the rules.
True.
It might have gone a little bit faster if everybody knew the rules ahead of time. But yeah, it takes a while to play.
And as Jan says, it has that. It's a very story-driven game.
Yeah.
It feels kind of like a board game mixed with a role-playing game. And for the first hour, or maybe even the first 2 hours, we didn't have any miniatures or any figures or anything. We were just following the storybook.
Yeah, that was a little bit surprising.
Yeah, you didn't see that coming.
No, because I came in here. There's 2 big boxes of camera, huge boxes. Yeah, sorry, on camera.
On camera.
Two big
These
boxes.
2 boxes here.
Stuffed with books, cards,
miniatures,
dice, all sorts of things. And for the first hour or 2, we were playing the game. We had our own sort of player boards, and some cards and some dice, but we didn't use any miniatures. We didn't use any of these little map tiles.
Yeah. And
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's very different. I have never played anything like this.
Yeah.
I've actually never played anything that reminds me of this even.
Yeah.
It's really cool that you are not playing as Solomon Kane, but everyone choose their own virtue. And yeah, all the virtues have some different strengths and abilities that they are good at. So like I was courage, and my virtue was good at helping Solomon Kane when it came down to fighting.
Yeah.
Yours were very good for exploration.
Yeah.
Because in some parts of the story we are on the map and you have to get to certain areas and explore. So
yeah.
And it was cool because throughout the game we were playing a 4-player game.
Yes.
4 virtues, and we had help with the 5th player was the game master.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
You don't need to do that. You could, the game plays itself, so if you are 4, you can still play a 4-player game. Or you can even play this solo. There is a different virtue that is stronger than all the other virtues, but that is a virtue meant for solo gaming. Now, it was interesting how one part of the story we had to talk and that was the main goal. So I don't know which of the virtues was really good at talking. Was it justice maybe? I don't know, temperance.
I think it was justice.
Justice.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't even know what you should focus on. Should we fight or should we talk? You have the option to do either, and you don't know what is the best choice.
Yeah.
I still don't know what the other outcome would have been if we had decided to choose things differently, if that would have been bad or good. But yeah.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting. Yeah.
Very cool and very interesting. And yeah, so you go back and forth between having the map and moving Solomon Kane around, and these shadows, I don't know, forces of darkness, these shadows kind of attack him, and you can use these virtues to try to stop that. And also, whenever your virtues are adjacent to Solomon Kane, he will get bonuses.
Yeah, but they don't even start on the board a lot of the time.
No,
a lot of the time you have to actually choose to put the virtue out as a thing you can do.
And
that's an interesting element.
Yes, and that brings us to another game mechanic. And we're kind of jumping all over the place.
Yeah,
but
that's all right.
I don't see how that's going to be avoided in this video.
That's true.
It's a huge game with many different mechanics. And so, as you mentioned, we have our own character board for each virtue.
Yeah.
And you draw cards. And you use cards.
Yeah. So your actions are determined by rolling dice. So when we play the regular co-op game, we roll 3 dice. And depending on your result, you can take certain actions. And in addition to the actions on your board, you also play cards next to your board that gives you additional actions. But when you use those, they get discarded, and you draw more cards, or you play down cards from your hand, you draw more cards, and then you sort of progress like that.
Yeah. And did you like the gameplay? Did you feel it worked? The game mechanics?
Yes, I felt like it worked. And I also like the it feels very much like cooperative gameplay, because there's a mechanics for not just using dice, but also sharing dice.
Yes, we can. You could give dice to other players.
Yeah.
You can even use one. Every virtue has one special ability.
Yeah, that everybody can use.
Everybody can use that. If you use it, you use one less die. But if someone else uses it, they have to like pay an extra die to use that ability.
Yeah.
So very co-op friendly, and
definitely, yeah.
It worked really well as a co-op game, but also thematically, what you do with your virtues and what you're doing on the map and how things progress. It felt really engaging, and it was interesting from start to finish. I was never bored, and we played 4 or 5 hours straight, and and like you do lots of stuff. You most of the time you're trying to add light.
Yes, which is a game mechanic.
Yeah,
which some of the virtues can do. Some are better at it, and you keep drawing these darkness cards that can. One of the things that can happen is that light just randomly gets removed.
Yes.
So you just never. You're never safe. You have to. Every turn counts. So you have to keep planning, and you have to try to sort of, I don't know, push your agenda through.
Yeah. And based on how well you managed to kind of lighten Solomon Kane's path, you, as we mentioned, you don't use the whole rule book, but based on what you do, you have whenever you're not on the map, you have these sections here. So here we have 3 to 5 areas where we can light these tokens and put light on his path. If we don't manage to lighten at least 3, then we go to a more dark scenario. And if we manage to light more than 50%, we get a better outcome, and then we go on a different page where we might have 1 extra turn, or maybe something bad that would have happened doesn't happen. And you never know what's going to happen in this game.
No, that's true. And also another aspect of that is the light that you produce can also be put on the virtues, because these sort of communal actions can be improved by using light. Instead of on Solomon, you can use it on each other.
Yes. Also, you have this.
Yes.
This, what do you call this?
I guess it's Solomon Kane's stats.
Basically.
Really.
So you have strength, clarity, compassion, and the danger level.
Yeah.
Now, these are his stats. So once you're on this end, you get bonuses. So here you have +1 if you're 7, 8, but then when you're not 9 and 10, you get 2 and 3. And these go up and down, and also with the things we do with the light and with like how well we do, these stats go either up or they go down. If ever the danger level goes over 10, or any of our stats go below 1, we lose the scenario.
Yep.
So you have to kind of navigate, because sometimes you have to sacrifice 1 stat to be able to do something with your virtue, or maybe with a scenario, and everything affects everything else. I don't know if that makes sense for anyone who hasn't played this game, but it's a bit complicated to try to explain it. But
it's another moving part, really.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, maybe you will increase the danger level or reduce one of the stats, but then what you get can be what you needed to proceed the story, or to get enough light, or to get another turn out of the game.
Very good example. Yeah, and when we are on these pages, we only have a couple of turns.
Yeah.
You have so many, darkness cards.
Yeah.
Every turn you discard a darkness card and read that card. But once you're out of darkness cards, that's it. Then if you didn't get enough light here, too bad. Then you go to the dark, pages of the story.
Yeah.
And as Jahn says, maybe someone has an ability or a card where, okay, you adjust strength 1 down, but then you produce a light. So maybe that was what we needed to get 3 light on the scenario.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, and also when you sort of have the board and the miniatures and everything, like the virtues and the shadows and everything, it's just stuff that's sort of happening out of sight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is just some background stuff. Like Solomon Kane
he doesn't notice this.
Yeah. This is something that happens sort of out of his control. And
these are the forces of the universe.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool because we interact with the shadows.
Yeah, yeah.
So the immortals or the virtues, I think they even call them immortals, like the shadows and the virtues.
Yeah.
And the mortals interact with each other. So Solomon Kane and other characters in the story, and there are miniatures for, I think, every character.
There are a lot of miniatures.
Yeah, and there are cards for every character. So when we came to certain story parts, you have to go and like look up and find certain cards and
that's true.
Navigate through.
That's a very good point, because the game sort of controls a lot of what the characters and the NPCs do.
Yeah.
And I mean, we as the players can get Solomon to move or to talk or to attack, but then you flip cards and you add modifiers, and depending on what happens, you draw certain cards that will explain what happens next in the story. So there's a fair bit of bookkeeping, so you kind of have to, be a bit meticulous.
Yeah, you draw cards, you have card management, you have dice management, dice manipulation, you also have fighting, and the fighting is, as Jahn says, you draw cards, and those cards, together with the stats and other modifiers, for example, the virtues, will affect the outcome of a fight.
Yeah.
So sometimes you don't want to fight or talk because you don't have the bonuses you need yet. So you might want to wait. But then if you wait, things will act with you or with Solomon Kane. So if we don't take a talk action with Solomon Kane, maybe the NPC bad guy character will do a talk.
Yeah.
And that will totally change the outcome, and that might go a lot worse. So maybe sometimes you have to do a talk action or some action that could have been better if you had the right stats and the right cards, but it still might be beneficial to just hope for the best.
Yeah.
And other times maybe you shouldn't have. You never know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And also this game is pretty, I'd say it's fairly difficult.
Yeah.
So you're never gonna be able to, or you very rarely at least are gonna be able to do exactly the thing you want to do, because you just want to wait a little bit, or if you want to set up a very good action, then you're sacrificing something else. You're sort of helping each other and giving each other the right dice and the right modifiers and things.
And that was the best aspect of the co-op. Like, I can do this, guys, but I need one. I don't know, like one cross on my dice. Okay, I have one cross. I can give that to you, and then you can use that ability. Yeah, and if you use that ability, I can actually use my card. And like, there are a lot of interactions across the table.
Yes, which is really, really good fun.
Absolutely. I mean, we can talk more about the mechanics, but that's basically it.
I think it comes a lot down to it's very story driven, and even though the mechanics are fairly complex, they are pretty much the same mechanics whether you talk or whether you fight or whatever you do. So, and
the more you play it, the more you get accustomed to the game mechanics.
Yeah, and everything is made. Or at least to me, it feels like everything is made with storytelling in mind.
Absolutely, and it really works on that aspect.
Yeah,
it does that really well.
Yeah, because it's not like you roll a die and look 2 damage. It's you do the test and then you read and see what happens, even for just punching someone in the face.
The people who created this game have put a lot of effort into the story and the cards and everything you read. Everything is really well done. And the story, we have only done one story so far, but it was really cool. And like we played for 1 hour, and that was just maybe
10 minutes?
Yeah, maybe less. Maybe that was 2 minutes in the game. That was Solomon Kane walking into a room and talking 3 phrases with a certain NPC, and that took us maybe an hour and a half to get to. But it still was really cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you when you said it comes down to storytelling.
No, that was pretty much what I was gonna say.
So who would you recommend this game to?
Right.
Because it's not for everyone.
It's not for everyone. I mean, it's a big game. It's an investment. And I think anyone who likes a story-based game, you know, if you like your role-playing games and you like your scenario games, then I think this is the game for you.
Absolutely.
I don't think if you prefer,
if Ghost Castle is the most advanced game you have played, then wait.
Yeah, and maybe not go straight for this one.
Yeah.
And I also think that if you prefer, like Euro games and that sort of thing, this might not quite be your cup of tea.
Because it has some mechanics that might be recognizable to someone who's used to some Euro games as well.
It does, but I think
it does not feel like it doesn't feel like a Fantasy Flight games or some American trash hardcore fighting game. This is not Zombicide or Massive Darkness.
The game mechanics themselves are solid.
Yeah,
definitely. But I think for a lot of people who prefer that Euro style,
I think thematically.
I think the game might feel a bit slow.
Yeah,
if you're not that into the story aspect of it.
That is a very good
since
point.
The story is such a big and important part of this particular.
That is
game.
The heart of the game.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Really, really is.
And you get a lot with just the main game.
Yeah,
you get a lot of different adventures, and as we said, I've played this was the first time we actually managed to complete this first adventure on our 4th try, and things have gone differently based on how well we have done. So, I had no hope that we were actually going to make it through the whole thing, and some things went differently this time because you never know, how the story goes.
It was really close.
Yeah.
We were very close to losing on a couple of occasions.
Yeah.
But we just managed to pull through, and it was just, for the last, hour, maybe? It felt pretty much like we just, on the brink, just a little bit more, and it worked out in the end.
It was very exciting.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
How would you compare this to Darkest Dungeon?
Oof. This is far more story driven, right? I feel like part of the point with Darkest Dungeon is that you write your own story. You do your own thing, you upgrade the village in your way. This is more, there's a set-ish story, and you're sort of nudging it in the right direction, if you can.
But if you like that let the gameplay apart and mechanics, if we look away from that, if you like dark fantasy and the kind of feel that you get in Darkest Dungeon, for example, or in any very kind of gritty and dark...
Yeah, kind of like a Dark Souls.
Bloodborne.
Yeah, that sort of Souls-like feeling.
Yeah, it has that atmosphere.
Yeah, it really does.
So if that is also something you like, and you like co-op games, then this might be worth investing in.
Definitely. It does have a very sort of Bloodborne-ish
Absolutely.
Feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we give it a dice...
Ooh.
Dice roll, dice... number? How would you rate it? Out of
I would
cross
rate
or a
it-
circle
I
or a
think
heart?
I think I rated a cross.
Yes, I think I give it like a full heart.
A full heart, not
Yes.
an empty heart.
No, full heart.
A full heart.
Now, okay, let's say out of D10.
On a D10.
On a D10.
Ooh, that is tricky. I'm leaning towards an 8, maybe.
Mm.
I've only played it the one time.
If we were gonna go into some things that might maybe be negatives for some people, as we kind of touched upon earlier, that you get used to the same game mechanics before we go into the final verdict.
Yeah.
Especially if you're, as I said, you could play this solo as well. If you're playing solo, you kind of miss out on the interaction part and the feel of sitting around the table with your friends and plan your strategy together.
Yeah.
If you're doing it solo, it might get a bit repetitive.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Yeah.
So I haven't played it solo, but I can imagine when, okay, now I go from this part to this, now I roll, now I have to lighten this, now I have to roll that stat. But outside of that, I felt everything was really top notch.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I feel like since the co-op felt so important or integral to, the mechanics of the game, I think a solo experience would be very different.
Yeah. But I have watched reviews and stuff on people who've done the solo, and some people say it's really good as a solo game as well. So I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would have to try that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're on a 8?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Same.
That's sort of like an early impression.
Early impression, first impression. I've played the game 4 times, but that was the first time we managed to complete the first scenario. But I really enjoy it. Every time we've played it, it's been a bit different, and it's been very exciting. And I've never gotten bored of playing even the same scenario several times. So it's a solid 8 in my book.
All right.
Yeah. So I think that covers it. I think we're done.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot.
We did. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. And hopefully we get time to do a couple of more videos before Halloween is over. So stay tuned and see you in the next episode. Cheerio, buddy boy. Pow. Can I give you a hand? or hands? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.